The United States said there is a fuel blockade in Mali and continue to insist that there is a fuel blockade in Mali. Now, Mali says that it's either America is misinformed. Definitely they can be misinformed, right? But I think it is not the fact that one of the countries with the greatest intelligence on the planet is misinformed. I think they are intentionally misinforming people. So now, when, let's say let's even assume they are misinformed, right? So there is a sort of propaganda that comes from all these things. And I'm very, very interested in letting you all know how propaganda is being shared. We got a lot of receipts today. Just strap into your seat and watch this video to the end, because this is very, very interesting, okay? So the United States said there was a fuel blockade in Mali and all of that. Now, the Alliance of Sahel states, right, foreign ministers, diplomats, they said there is nothing like that. That is a gross misinformation, okay? But how does this campaign, how does this campaign make it viral to the point where you have everybody, you know, now coming with this narrative, okay? Now, there are different type of people that we have. We have the mainstream media. We have the affiliates, right, of the mainstream medias. You have mainstream media that propagate the interest of the deep states. Then you have affiliates of the mainstream media, and you have the sub-affiliates. Then you have what I call the urchins, okay? Now, I'm not going to grade them, but when you start watching this video, you can see who and how the thing comes from top to bottom. Okay, now this is Al Jazeera. You see, Al Jazeera News, BBC Africa, whatever type of BBC, and not CNN, Fox News, all those people, they belong to the same category. Look at what Al Jazeera said about Mali.
Al-Qaeda-linked fighters have blocked fuel deliveries to Mali's capital for 2 months. They want to seize territory and drive out Western influence. But could their ultimate goal be to control the country? And what would that mean for the rest of the Sahel? This is Inside Story.
Now, the misinformation about this, one of the most obvious misinformation is telling a narrative that the fuel blockade, even if there is no fuel blockade, now saying it's for 2 months, right? They followed it up with a travel advisory. Now, here comes, after Al Jazeera released, the BBC Africa propagated it. So when they want to release propaganda, they share it among this mainstream media, projecting. And if you look at all this mainstream media, right, they have one thing in common. It's Western mainstream medias. If you think Al Jazeera is not a Western mainstream media, then you don't get the politics enough. So when they propagate this misinformation, they share it to the affiliates. Now, who are the affiliates? Watch this person.
Al-Qaeda didn't totally disappear. It evolved, shifting from international terrorism plots to building influence inside fragile states. And right now in Mali, an Al-Qaeda-linked group known as JNIM, Jam'at Nusrat al-Islam wal-Muslimin, is on the brink of taking control. We're talking an entire country. The US Embassy has urged all American citizens to leave Mali immediately, warning that land routes are unsafe and that militants now control much of the countryside. JNIM has tightened its grip around the capital, Bamako, by blocking fuel supplies and attacking major highways. Several regional towns have already fallen, cutting the government off from food and communication networks. Across Mali, schools are closed, hospitals are short on fuel, and daily life is collapsing. In response, the Malian government has engaged in emergency fuel import deals, imposed curfews and checkpoint sweeps, and deployed drone patrols and airstrike capability to disrupt JNIM's advance. Analysts say JNIM is no longer just a militant network, it's acting like a proto-state, collecting taxes and enforcing its own laws in captured areas. If Bamako falls, it will mark the first time an Al-Qaeda affiliate has seized a national capital in Africa, a potential domino moment for the wider Sahel. Washington describes the situation as unpredictable and deteriorating. More than 2 decades after 9/11, Al-Qaeda hasn't vanished. It's adapted. And in Mali, it may be closer to power than ever before.
Here. These are verified accounts of big independent platforms. Then this guy too.
All Americans in Mali, West Africa, have been told to leave the country immediately. The US Embassy has issued a statement telling people to get to the airport and get the first flight out of there whilst they're still available. The embassy is warning people not to try to drive out of the country because the highways are lined by terrorists. And the US Embassy says it won't be able to rescue anyone outside the capital. So this is after the conflict between the government and these terrorist groups escalated. One of the things they're fighting for control of is the energy supply, and fuel levels are critically low, and that's why there might not be any more flights out of the airport if they can't get enough fuel. Any US citizens that insist on staying in the country should prepare contingency plans for emergency situations, including a need to shelter in place for an extended period. So the US Embassy clearly saying, if you don't want that option, get out.
Now, one thing you should know about these people is that if you look at them, they are all Western, non-Africans. They don't even know the realities on the line, right? And they continue to propagate this as if they were there. They get all their information from one source, the mainstream propaganda machine. Now, it comes from here, then it goes to the level of the reporters. Who are the reporters? Look at this person.
The US government is urging Americans in Mali to leave immediately. The advisory comes as Mali's government faces growing pressure from Al-Qaeda-linked insurgents imposing a fuel blockade. Americans should depart on commercial flights and not by road, the US government says. The Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam al-Muslimin group announced the fuel blockade in early September. Analysts quoted in media reports say the militants are using the fuel blockade to pressure the military-led government. Schools and universities throughout Mali were shut this week because of the crisis. According to media reports, convoys of fuel tankers attempting to enter the country are now being attacked. US-Mali relations are strained over the West African country's collaboration with Russia and a visa dispute.
Right? These people, what they do is to, they scan and photocopy what has been printed by the mainstreams, right? So they farm views. That's all they want. Any type, they don't care about the interest of the audience. They don't care about the validity of their information. All they care about is, oh, this is a big news, is out. I'm about to get some views. I'm about to bag some money. Then after this person, look at this person.
So we have some major developing news. This is the news that is coming in now. The United States of America has issued a travel advisory to all the Americans that are traveling to Mali. And the United States of America has told all its citizens who are in Mali to evacuate immediately. And they are saying that those that are in the capital city should go to the airport now and evacuate immediately. This is after the war between the jihadists in Mali and the army in Mali escalate. There is a lot of fighting in the capital city of Mali, Bamako, and Assimi Goïta is trying as much as possible to deal with this jihadist group known as Janim. This group wants to take down the president of Mali, Assimi Goïta, and this group has been blockading all the goods that are traveling into Mali, including the fuel. So there is a lot of fuel crisis in the capital city of Mali, Bamako. So the United States of America has just told its citizens to evacuate immediately in all the Sahel states. We pray that the Sahel states are going to win this war, and we know who is causing this war and funding all these terrorists, but we hope that they are going to win this war and there's going to be peace in Bamako.
Okay, these people can release news, let's say about 10 times a day and all of that. So you have to sit down and, look clearly. Do they even have enough time to verify everything that they are putting out there to the public? And we have to understand that information can be very, very detrimental. When Libya was destroyed back in time, do you know that Goodluck Jonathan was among the presidents? Even Zuma, These were presidents that gave freedom, right? They allowed the West to use their airspace to destabilize Libya. So, and all this can only happen through the machinery of propaganda. You know, and propaganda, ignorance, right? Affiliated with propaganda is not an excuse. So, sometimes when I see some comments, I want to give up, okay? Sometimes these things get to me and all of that, you know, but what keeps me going, right? I will tell you today. When I see all these people talking, now a lot of people have told me I'm not a Malian, okay? And I'm not. And they tell me, don't talk about Mali. We are not a Malian, right? And these informations are coming directly from Malians, right? I'm just making this known. So when they say this, it gets to you a certain way, right? There's a lot going on in my country. I can choose to talk about it till all the cows come home. Now, but what keeps me coming back is when I look at the type of information they put out there, and I'll be like, hold on a minute. You mean I should sit back? Why does people put out this level of information? And now that is how several other multiple platforms continue to put out this information, right? So when you hear America say, and they continue to dig in, they continue to double down on that narrative, it is because it has traveled beyond measure. So to now turn back from that narrative and say, okay, we were misinformed, it's not going to happen. They have too much ego to do that, right? Again, before we get back to the Malian information, look at this information. They said there was a coup d'etat in Burkina Faso.
Several commanders and captains in the Burkinabe armed forces have been arrested, and a few of them were relieved of their duties with immediate effect in regards to this planned military coup that failed a few days ago. According to the magistrate commander, the former commander of the military justice battalion was also arrested. So you can see this coup attempt was planned at the highest level. It involved top military commanders, top military captains, and also top governmental officials. It was a big deal. It was something deeper than you and me could ever imagine. Now, according to the report I heard, they suspected the guy that planned the coup, the master planner, was one of the exiled military commanders.
But you don't just bring out this type of information if there is no verification from the official government source, right? There are some internal sources we have in the AES that when they drop information, it's absolutely legit. These are people that even work with Sputnik Africa, okay? But you wonder sometimes, where is all this information coming from? You know, when you listen to the unofficial number of coup d'etat people have talked about that is going on in Burkina Faso, you just wonder, like, what is going on? Information warfare is more lethal than the kinetic warfare. So, because it deals with your mind, and the mind controls the physical. Okay, I don't know if a lot of people understand what I'm saying. Now, America said there's a fuel blockade. The people on the ground, which are the Malians, say there is no fuel blockade. So there's only one way we can find out who the liar is. That means we have to look at the realities on the ground. Now, I'm gonna take realities from both sides, okay? Now, first of all, before we get into it, this is yesterday in Mali. Watch it. I'm making this video 12 a.m. now, right? It's new day now here. But this was yesterday in Mali. This is fuel. I have a lot of tankers coming through, but it's too long. I don't want to bug you. You can see that fuel entered Mali, right? Now, watch this other video.
In a show of strength and determination, the Malian armed forces carried out a large-scale operation to secure the population and their property. To assess the working conditions of the personnel deployed in the field, a delegation from the General Staff of the Armed Forces visited RMA Kono in the Sikasso district.
We were dispatched by the Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces on the instructions of the Minister of Defense, in line with the directives of the President of the Republic, to try to observe and then to manage and ensure, it is guaranteed of course, but to further ensure the free movement of people and goods along the corridor, along both corridors, Ziguinchor Sikasso and RMA Kono Sikasso. So these corridors have for some time now faced terrorist threats, threats that could not be neutralized without the presence of a strong capacity as well. So at first we managed to work on the crime-prone sites and to neutralize a certain number of armed terrorist groups that had settled there. So in a second phase, we are working to make the corridor more fluid, to make the movement of people and goods along the corridor smoother.
As part of the fight against the operating methods of terrorist groups and the determination to permanently drive this phenomenon out of the AES area, the General Staff has announced that reinforced measures are underway.
We are in control of the area, meaning we control the access roads to Luni, and we also monitor the forests around Luluni to allow the population to, first of all, have confidence in the presence of the army and to feel safe going to their fields and carrying out their activities freely, their daily activities. And you know, these armed terrorist groups also, in relation to, they do the exact opposite of what they claim. Every time they say to the population, well, we're not here for you, we're here for the farmer. And unfortunately, when the farmers show up, it's them who end up fleeing. The message of reassurance I have for the population is to tell them to continue to trust the farmer, their farmer, because they are their farmer, and to support us, to send us information and intelligence about these people.
The next step concerns the distribution of food supplies to the affected localities. Here we are at RMA Kono, a locality located about 40 kilometers from the city of Sikasso, where nearly 800 defense and security forces from Niger and Burkina are camped here, as you have seen, to escort these tankers to Bamako. This shows that the security forces are keeping a close watch to secure the entire national territory.
So you can see that multiple convoys of hydrocarbon continue to enter Mali. And now it's not going to Bamako alone, because Bamako is not the only place where Mali exists, right? Sikasso, different places. You can see Aramakono in the signpost and all of that. And you can see that the realities on the ground is different from the news you are hearing out there. These are convoys entering, right? So it only means one thing. Based on stats and facts, it means that somebody is lying between the two. So who is lying, right? Now, I won't say that either of the two are lying. Now, I'm going to tell you what I think. What I think is one of the two was involved in the planning, in the strategic planning of this fuel blockade. They have the capability, the surveillance and reconnaissance capability to give a precise, detailed information to their machineries on the ground to effect this blockade. But guess what? Now, you know, we continue to see a lot of adaptation from the farmers of Mali. Now, I got to tell you something. It's not only fuel blockade. It's not only fuel security that Mali has right now, right? They equally have security in different strategic locations. Okay? Like this.
Jour sur le site, la mission principale, c'est de restaurer l'autorité de l'État sur la mine et sur les environs, dans la région de Gao. Donc à cette occasion, j'aimerais présenter toutes mes félicitations à tous les FAMA et à toutes les autorités, y compris les PCIAT de Gao et aux autorités supérieures qui nous ont confié cette mission pour bien veiller sur les biens de l'État qui se trouve aujourd'hui au niveau de la mine d'Intahaka. Que nous sommes dans l'exécution de la mission, on a reçu pour ordre de dégripper tous les orpailleurs se trouvant sur la mine pour mieux ordonner la mine bien prochainement. Présentement, les gens ont quitté carrément la mine.
À la satisfaction des autorités, le site minier d'Intahaka est désormais sous contrôle total des femmes. Les jugements vont profiter au peuple et aux autorités du pays à travers la Société malienne de recherche et d'exploitation de ressources minières, SOREM, qui prendra bientôt la gestion. Les opérations de patrouille vont se poursuivre pour dissuader toute tentative de retour des exploitants illégaux, locaux, étrangers et de groupes armés.
This is the Intahaka gold mine. You have all type of varieties of troops in the Intahaka gold mine to effect the order that has been given by the constitutional authority of Mali. But the narrative in the Western media, in the Western world, is different. And again, these are the things that motivate me to always come back. Sometimes I fall sick, but I still have to come back. Because when I open, because the only things I subscribe to is news, right? So when I start seeing propagandas, I be like, man, I'm sick, but I have to still go out there and still do what I need to do because I'm just duty bound to do it. So sometimes if my performance is not even like what it should be, just understand what time it is. And, you know, even though I don't feel too good, I still have to come back because, you know, this narrative is just, this propaganda is just too dangerous, okay? Now, Macron said that without France, Mali would not even be a state. Now, before I even speak on it, I want you to get the reply that Macron got instantaneously. Watch this video.
Accused of ingratitude. According to him, Mali would no longer be a state if France hadn't intervened.
I think France wouldn't be a state either if Mali and Africa hadn't intervened back then to fight for France's freedom. I think that between states, it's not a matter of gratitude or ingratitude because every human life is important. But what are we talking about? Well, about 50 French soldiers lost their lives here, and I bow my head in their memory. But when we talk about African riflemen, including Malians, who died for the freedom of France and Europe, there were tens of thousands. So those who speak should also remember and know their own history before engaging in this kind of discussion. But I think this once again shows that people have condescending attitudes towards Africa. I think, does France have the same attitude towards the United States, who also saved France? I don't think we're dealing with considerations of that kind here. And then those who came.
The answers that they are getting is very, very quick, very swift, and it's just the truth, okay? Should we talk about the Malians that sacrificed themselves? Is it the Tuarogians that we want to talk about? France have, should I say, bedeviled Africa for a long time, a very, very long time. And I think it's about time they leave. You know, this is, now with their activities in Africa, I think we've gotten to a point where the relationship cannot even be repaired anymore. So, now, the reason why they insist that there is a blockade is because the information is already, you know, the propaganda is already working like a clockwork. The problem is there is a few that are properly informed mentally, okay? But structurally, the way the world is being built, right? A lot of people don't really value information. A lot of people are ignorant. A lot of people that have access to information, some of them choose to assess what is financially beneficial to them. They don't care about the interest of the people that want true information and authentic, detailed information. So you can see right there Now, what I love about this deployment from the farmers of Mali and the Alliance of Sahel forces, about 800 plus of them, is because now they realize that, look, it's about time we start working as one, physically, mentally, diplomatically, spiritually, whatever type of way you want to put it. They are now working as one. And this is how you crush the enemy. And I can guarantee you the enemies are not going to go to Chad. They dare not go to Chad. Because covertly, Chad is in support of the Alliance of Sahel. Now, you see, there are different type of capabilities that are being put in place in this particular deployment by the Malians. Number one is there are air vector components, which are in different class. There are infantry components on the ground. And now, I'm going to tell you something, right? There were 4 deployments in this operation. The African Corps, the Farmers of Mali, the Burkina Rapid Intervention Brigade, and the Nigerian Armed Forces. So it's a proper structure. Now, I'm going to explain something to you, right? The entire perimeter of that travel was properly fortified. Now, the reason why they deployed this large number of force is because a very high amount of hydrocarbon is being transported into Mali. And this is the only time you see the Malians deploy a large combat capable, tools. Now, I have to further explain something, right? This is to the advantage of our forces because, one, for every skirmish, they gain a lot. Now, I'm going to explain something. You see that hydrocarbon, you see there was a particular fuel tanker that burned and all of that. The reason why that fuel tanker burned, even the African Corps video, you saw it right there. There were 2 tankers that were burning and there was 1 MRAP. I think 2 MRAP that got damaged, right? The reason is because it's not because the jihadists shot. It was because the jihadists were waiting in ambush. They expected the convoy to get hit by the improvised explosive device. And immediately that happened. The secondary effect was what affected those 2 tankers, which were very close to each other, right? Immediately, all the jihadists in that vicinity got neutralized. Now, I'm going to explain something to you. The objective is get the hydrocarbon to Mali. The objective is not stay there and record the jihadists that died in the bush. Now, that got unalived in the bush. They left. And you saw a lot of hydrocarbon convoy get into Mali. But, the jihadists now came back later, right? Those that were on radio communication that didn't see their brothers again, they know where their brothers stay because this thing is well planned, right? So they came there, you started hearing Allahu Akbar, and they started picturing burnt tankers. Okay? So they were completely neutralized, but the secondary effect of the IED on the MRAP was what affected those tankers. It wasn't the fact that maybe the jihadists shot the tanker or something. So, but still, the forces got the fuel to Mali. And just imagine how they were received. You see, sometimes the way your people, the way they carry you, it makes your life, it transforms your life from your individual property to a sacrifice for the people. I've never seen military forces so loved like this in Africa. I need anybody to challenge me that there is one military force that is as loved as these ones we have in the AES. Nobody is coming close. Even in the West, except maybe the Russian forces. This is what a military should look like, not some bullies. So, you know, now, and this is something that should continue because this is an existential war. This is a war. This is a dogfight. And the Malians continue to show and prove that the more time we go in this journey, the more you are going to suffer casualty and the more you are going to get exposed. That's why you see that they are desperate. They stab you from this side, they ask for negotiation on the other side. Please tell me, for those that still think these are some bond, look at their narrative. They said they want to establish Sharia, they want to do some Islamic caliphate and all of that. The only place recently, apart from the Sahel, that we've seen this type of strategy, right, is in Ukraine. They are hitting your energy infrastructure. They are calling for negotiation at the other side. Carrot and stick. But, you know the story. That is why Android is here. So there is nothing that they are doing right now that is new. We've all seen it. We know this playbook. Okay? We know the playbook very well. Now, let's get something. The realities on the line of contact is so different from the narrative. Don't forget, they only care about the narrative. Oh, the tanker. Oh, Mali is about to be on the ropes right now, right? And you see those ignorant, should I say innocent African brothers, that because they are still living within the encirclement of the colonial influence, they just carry those information because, oh, America said it. The biggest lying machine in the world, the United States. The biggest lying machine in the world. We've seen it. So when it comes to, this thing is very clear. Ask yourself, which country on the planet right now has this methodology of attacking civilian energy infrastructure? You know who they are. So now, the new propaganda now is that, oh, Russia is deceiving the Africans, Russia is creating insecurity, Russia is this, Russia is that. In fact, to a point where, you see this French military expert, he actually said they want to go into a confrontation with Russia, and we've seen what happens to the French troops in Ukraine, right? He said, but the people of France, the parents of France are not willing to, to get that work. They are not willing to get that work. He said because the work means that they will have to lose their kids. They will have to lose their children on the line of contact. You want to fight Russia? France will not defeat only Akhmat. You know Akhmat? Where you have Ramzan Kadyrov and they won't go. It's not possible. The only place they can fumble is in the face of all the civilian puppets that you have in Africa. So, let's take a look at the insecurity they say Russia is creating in Africa. First of all, I want everybody to pay close attention to what Faure Gazembe of Togo and Vladimir Putin said in this brief discussion. Look at the intention of Vladimir Putin. Just analyze his words, right? Russia is deceiving Africans. Listen, let's watch this video.
Esteemed Prime Minister, friends, I would like to cordially welcome you here in Moscow. That's not the first meeting that we have, but nevertheless, I would like to say that this year we have celebrated 65th anniversary of establishing diplomatic relations, and as odd as it might seem, over this time we have never established embassies in our countries, and we have an agreement on this. We're going to open embassies both in Togo and in Russia. And nevertheless, even though we did not have embassies in our countries, we are developing our economic cooperation at a good rate. Maybe the total volume is pretty modest for our countries, but nevertheless that the trend is good. And I really hope that after the embassies are open, after the Intergovernmental Commission will start working, then both countries will make every effort to not only to maintain this space, but also to enhance it. As for the humanitarian relations, we mainly focus on education now. We believe it's a very important area. We have more than 80 Togolese nationals receiving state-funded scholarships and receiving their higher education here in Russia. We are glad to have them, and I'm sure that they will make a significant contribution to the development of their homeland in the future. Mr. Prime Minister, once again, I would like to cordially welcome you to Russia. Welcome. Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of my delegation that is traveling with me, I would like to thank you for extending this invitation to travel here in Moscow, and I thank you for the warm welcome extended to us on our arrival to your country. As you said, our countries did not have embassies for a while. But we are entering a new era of our relations because we are going to open embassies, diplomatic missions in both countries. We have key areas where we cooperate, and it helps us strengthen our relations. And we have several priorities, and one of the key areas is education, as you rightly underscored. Many Togolese students study in Russia because these days it's a great chance to make a significant contribution to the future of our country and the relations between our countries. And opening embassies will help us enhance our cooperation in this field. Another field is counterterrorism activities, safety and security. And I would like to thank you for everything that you've been doing to help the Sahel countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, in their counterterrorism efforts. It's essential for us as well because we also face and we are threatened by the terrorists who are active in the regions of those countries that I have just mentioned, and the entire West Africa suffers from the terrorist threat. And in this regard, I would like to thank you once again for the support that you are giving to the African countries. We will speak about this now.
You can see that Russia is about that time. Russia is not talking about having a military base or something. You see that they even said they don't even have embassies in so many places. Russia does not care. Russia is big enough. But it's one small nation off the coast of somewhere that will tell you that they want to have a base here, they want to have a base here, they want to have one here, one there. Just to continue to steal, to posture to be who they are not. Oh, man. You see, I'm even pitying France. You know why? Because imagine you being nothing and suddenly you just found yourself at the top. And you know that top you are, you don't have a solid foundation. Because everything that took you to that point was a lie. And now you have to fall. That would be devastating. Because at some point you will adapt to that facade. You want to be there, but you know you are not there. You know the work you did to get there was not right. And that is the reality of France right now. So imagine the shame. Imagine the reproach. And they are getting that work even as we speak. Every time I speak, I expose them to the point where that is why, you know, the videos I don't get the kind of views I used to get early on. Because I didn't switch on my Pan-African torch early on when I started this. Yeah, I was only, I just give the situational report on the line of contact and all of that. Yeah, we were making good numbers. We were making 90,000. We were making 100 and something thousand. We had videos of 200 and something thousand. We were making 40 something, 50 something, 60 something, But immediately we turned on the Pan-African torch. Yeah, I can tell you, just the way you are watching me, the traders are watching. So we know you are here. So don't worry. You can, we've seen them come to the Telegram channel, try different means, drop different, phishing links and all of that. But, we're smarter than that. I'm not just what you think I am. So you've seen what Vladimir Putin did there.
4 pays africains où la Russie coopère dans le domaine de la défense avec 46 États. Des moyens de coopération et la formation des spécialistes africains pour la protection des intérêts nationaux des pays.
Now, you see that, look, we've not talked about Central African Republic. Madagascar is about to get the work. Everywhere Russia comes into, there is peace, there is development, there is improvement, there is accountability, there is transparency, there is truth. The only truth that exists in the entire continent of Europe right now is Russia. Belarus, who else? Hungary. The rest, oh man. So now, the problem they're having with Mali right now is that Mali is taking control of everything. And that should not, to them, that should not be. We didn't plan it this way. You are not supposed to take control of the entire good mine. You are not supposed to take control of Kidal because it's against the interest of Algeria. You can see that Mauritania is overtly now coming to say, the Malians are our brothers. Let me tell you the only reason why this is happening. Everybody is seeing a change in the reality. Oh, they imposed the fuel blockade, the glorious fuel blockade that is supposed to paralyze the entire Malian state. The people are supposed to revolt, whereas you're supposed to impose a puppet on them, courtesy of Bina Diara. And the civilians are supposed to, because if they come back, they will make sure they turn everybody in that place to an internally displaced, bunch. But that will never happen. Because the people you are trying to deceive, they already know the truth. You see, even the kidnapping they are doing recently, like I said yesterday, is a tool. You can see. Now, there is something that even happened. Those of you that pay attention to our platform, you remember that I said once upon a time that Bina Diara, we had reports that Bina Diara was gone, that it was neutralized, it was KIA. Who knows the truth more than the people that are building the strategy, that are giving them information, right? That are giving them intel, that are planning and orchestrating the attacks. Somebody checked one of the recordings of Bina Diara on X. And do you know what Grok said, right? Grok said that was an artificial intelligence speech of Bina Diara. That Bina Diara is probably KIA. That was how they released the video of Al Anabi too. They said that was an high-level doctored AI video. Look at the post here. They said the reality is Bina Diara must have been KIA. So to those that believe that Bina Diara is the one making the threats, that is not a propaganda, tell him to wear red from everything should be red, and he should make a video with it. These are the realities we are dealing with as we speak. Different type of tools to manipulate. Now they continue to say, oh, we are friends, we have a long, imagine, France will tell you 1 minute that they have a long history with Mali, that Mali is their brothers. Right? That's France speaking. The Mali is their brother. And at the same time, you will hear the same France saying that Mali wouldn't have become a state without them. Look at their action. Look at their words. but look deeper into their action. Stick and carrot. But at the end of the day, you know the story. They did not expect the Malians to improve militarily like this. They did not expect the alliance of Sahel to have this close coordination. What they will be trying to do at some point is to sort of start building up propaganda to divide the different states. You know, the president of the different state told you that they have been bribed, they have been overtly and covertly, you know, met. They have been offered a lot to ignore this, to ignore this, to ignore this, get out of this. They cannot rest. And that is why even when I fall sick, I choose not to rest. A lot of y'all have told me before that I should take a break, I should do this, I should do that. I have a severe sore throat as I speak, but I still have to do this. Because at the start of this video, did you see the amount of propaganda? And there are multiples like that. Multiple dummies that just continue to tell lies. So get the game. Don't fall for the reading. It's your boy 7200 signing out. Enough said. If I go, I want to specially appreciate the support of Flavor Blade, Cryptography, Ignatius Moore. Find it out. I really, really appreciate your input into the Android community. I'm very, very happy to have people like you. And it's a blessing that God has given me the opportunity to meet everyone in the Android community. I really appreciate you all. And I'll continue to try my best to make sure that I bring you what the reality is on the ground. Militarily, you know, that's what we basically do here. We release military analysis of what is going on, the situational report on the line of contact, to debunk the narrative of the enemy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you all for coming back. You all are a blessing to me, and I really want to say thank you, and God bless you. Aluta continua, Victoria Center. The reason why I mentioned this word is because no matter how long it's going to take, we are going to continue. We are going to continue. We know that they don't intend to stop, but it will come to a point they will have no option than to stop. Right? Because that is the only way they have. They tell you that the jihadist is about to take over. But look at these bathroom slippers. Is it my own? Does the Malian armed forces, do they wear bathroom slippers? Right? Look at that AK-47. You can see the amount of grass in that location. It shows you that something very heavy, maybe a TNT, you know, maybe it's kind of ricocheted around the whole place. And you saw what the shockwave created. If I show you the video and the image of the person that owns these slippers and this gun, but for the respect of humanity, we will continue to, you know, keep it G until, you know, they poke us again and we're going to bring you the realities. Thank you for watching and God bless you.